That's going to be one of those mornings. Hey, John, hear you there once again. Okay, so that's on. That's on. Fathead's good. All right. We're stacked. And this is going to be one of the more geographically challenged shows that we have. SDH AM, John, hear you there. Thanks for dropping by. And here's kind of where we are today. Jarrett Smith joining us, and so Jarrett gets to be a part of this breakdown too. Jarrett's off the top. Okay, so Jarrett, here's where we are today with everything. We are waiting for our friends from London to come on as I'm sporting the old school Marshall Islands jersey. We're going to, in a perfect world, get a Marshall Islands update here in the first half hour. Then I think we go back to London for part of the next half hour where it's Mark Warburton, who is the new hire for Sporting JAX, and he's hanging out with Steve Livingston. Steve, I think, is in Jacksonville, and they'll be with us here. And then hour two is our buddy Nino Torres from Lima, Peru, and then it's our buddy Niko Moreno, who is joining us from Seattle. Hi, what am I missing with you?
Jesus Christ, I didn't know what I was walking into. Okay.
Like I said, we're waiting for.
Dude, I've been like getting over being sick all week, so that's just like it's one of those things where you're like, I'm feeling better, I think. What are you gonna do? I guess I'm gonna go run a 5K, emotionally speaking.
So
here we are.
Yes. So how are you, by the way?
I mean, getting over being sick is kind of it was the lead in the nut graft. But otherwise, okay. Just
oh boy.
Yeah, existing day to day as we all are.
Yes, as we all are. So, I mean, we've been kind of looking at Atlanta United the last couple of days. Obviously, with Niko, we'll talk about what's going on with Paul Arriola and going on season in the injury list. We've talked at Tyler Terrence yesterday was on, and Tyler may, by the way, in hour number 2 tomorrow, I think Tyler is going to crash, and because there's really nothing going on in a hotel room in Atlanta on a Friday morning, so
nothing. Rephrase that. There is nothing reputable going on Friday morning in Atlanta.
Yes,
I will tell you that one of the churches down on Auburn Avenue used to do a Friday midday fish fry. You can always do that. The South African meat pie place in the Sweet Auburn Market is still there, to my knowledge. As is Grindhouse, as is Bell Street Burrito. All of those are viable options.
Well, and that's kind of what
it will keep him out of legal trouble.
Yes, and that was kind of what we were going to help the man with. It's like, all right, so Tyler is a foodie, and so he's coming to town with Kindred East St. Alban, and they're going to be calling them. And no. I
mean, do the varsity if you've never done it. Like, we're having this argument in the Discord because Rich might be coming down, and he's like, can I get it delivered from the varsity? And everyone's answer is not yes or no. It's why.
Yeah.
You got better options.
Yeah.
I'll tell you my personal preference is I'll tell you to get on the Beltline, go for a walk, and stop at Bantam Pub.
Yeah.
And grab the lamb burger. Amongst other things there, and that's like you get off the Beltline and have to walk down where it's the overpass, down past the big field, and in the skate park. And you gotta walk down under the overpass in kind of a sketchy way, but there's better places to eat in the varsity. Don't do that to yourself. Live a better life.
No, we were trying to encourage, say, Fat Mats or something barbecue-ish or something, depending on what you're in the mood for. So I think we were planning on workshopping for Tyler if he comes in the second hour tomorrow. What to chase, what to pursue food-wise. Are you going to go for breakfast? And I thought Martin's. He's tied to Uber, by the way. He does not have a rental car as a part of his dynamics. So
I just passed a Martin's too on the way to work.
Yeah, see, so I was thinking Martin's if he's looking for breakfast or brunch. I was thinking Fat Matt's maybe for something dinner-ish. So it just depends on what his mood is, and then trying to figure out. Krog Street, I think, was what was recommended by some folks.
And depending on where he is, if he's close up to the Beltline, he can hop on and do a bunch of this stuff. And the weather should be nice enough. I think. So you go Krog. you go to Ponce if you want to. I myself am a purveyor of Allbirds shoes, so Allbirds has a store at Ponce, so I generally find myself in there. My problem is a lot of the like there's a lot of those places I find myself going into. I'm like, I'm not spending that much money. I'm too cheap.
And then you walk.
I say that as someone who's buying Allbirds, but I generally buy them like I generally wait till like they go 60% on sale and then I pop in, um, and find fun colors like the green ones I have.
Yes.
But man, yeah. I mean, there's always like you can do like the standard vortex thing that everyone does, but it's not bad. It's not going to hurt you.
No.
Do that.
No. And so that's kind of what. So if, like I said, if Tyler is of a certain mind where he's bored in the hotel room, and I have opened this door to everyone who's coming into town for play-by-play that we have on the show, that if you're bored, come on in. You can crash at any time to say your piece, say a couple minutes, get in, get out, and we'll give you Rex.
You know what you could have done in a past life, John, is if we can get a time machine, let's just go reopen Huey's Beignet Shop on Peachtree.
Oh man,
that was right across from the Building of Death.
Oh boy,
yeah.
See,
they shut that damn place down like a week before I started working overnights at GST.
Yeah.
You know how pissed off I was? I had plans, man. I had plans to work an overnight shift, get off work at 6 a.m., haul my sleepy ass over across the street, eat some beignets, contract some diabetes, and drive home.
Yes. And have Tom Hughes and Steve Holman sit there and yell at you from across the way, and Sluggo Seidel sits there and go, "Bro, what are you doing?" It absolutely would be that way. Now,
at that point, it would have been Matt Cook,
yes,
Doug Nodine, and this is how we met. This is how we met. The first person into the GST newsroom at 4 a.m. every morning was Mike Conti.
Oh yes.
This is how we met in 2009.
Yes, absolutely. That's fantastic. And no, I mean that's some good ish right there. That is definitely some good ish about how you wander around and you sit there and it's like, well, wait a second. Do you remember when? And you sit there and you go, yeah, I do remember when. Because
noted engineer Mike Lawling yelling at somebody for no reason at 6:30 in the morning.
Oh. Now you know the rest of the story.
Absolutely, you do, and that's oh wow.
Oh, also Art coming in at 6 a.m. because he was deaf as a post. And
yeah,
talking real loud to you at 6 a.m. because he couldn't hear.
Yeah,
he still can.
No,
God bless him.
Well, and by the way, as we go into story time with John here, Art was part of the morning crew at Charlie and Company over at Z 93, and Art went on vacation, and we got a phone call over at the 4D. And God bless Mark Harmon. He didn't want to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and be over at the studios up up on up by Northside Hospital and St. Joe's and up there. And so he's like, no, you're going to go do it. Okay, so for like 3 days, when Art was on vacation and it was Falcons training camp, I was a sports individual with Charlie and Company over at Z 93. So the one line that I think floored the entire floor on that day was when a particular Falcons running back had no desire to be at the beginning of training camp up at Furman. And so my tease in the parlance of what's going on in the biz, where you sit there, you set up what you're talking about, you go to commercial, and then you talk about it. I said, what do Jamal Anderson and I have in common? More coming up after this morning show on Z 93. And I come back from break, and so Charlie is like, okay, so what do you and Jamal have in common? Neither of us are at Furman. Everybody breaks out in laughter. So that's that was the good tease for the week. And so that is the the Irish goodbye for the morning for Jarrett. And, so that's your opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. QR code's still waiting to be imported because John's still trying to figure out what in the wide world of sports is going on here. So, yeah, I gave everybody my one-liner.
Oh, I heard it.
And so
for some reason I dropped out. I don't know why.
I don't know why either. But no, but yeah, I was quite proud of that one-liner at 5:40. So I was happy about that one. So
and in Art's defense, Art has the best plan I've ever seen anyone have, which is Art is a master diver, like certified.
okay.
Man's spent more money on diving equipment than I care to think about.
Yeah.
Unless he's changed his plan was to keep showing up till the key card quit working, and then we probably will never see him again because he will disappear to some island either in the Caribbean or the South Pacific and just live out his days in the water.
Yes. Consult John T. Edge if you really need a place to go hide and hang out. Yeah, John T. could probably find you a good diving spot. And
on that note, I would say don't send Tyler Terrence to Johnny's Hideaway, but Johnny's Hideaway.
No.
We were discussing old dives last night, actually, after a softball game. And for some reason, I brought up the buckboard.
Oh, man. Wow.
Because I wanted to hurt someone's feelings, I guess. I don't know.
Wow. The buckboard. Well, and also with Tyler is of recent, if I'm not mistaken, Tyler is of recent engagement. So I don't know if going to Johnny's Hideaway would have been beneficial anyway. No, we neither condone or endorse that behavior. We have been in that establishment, but only for a social experiment, not for any real after effects. And because one of my friends at the time enjoyed going there because she knew the owner and it was a place for her to go hang out after work. So going to that particular establishment, there was no end game other than to spend time there, and then after a couple of hours turn around and leave. There was no other end game attached, basically. So no, that was
Cowboys back when it was Cowboys, like the mid '90s when it was like I'm gonna put the E on the episode. It was shit kicker Cowboys back then.
There you go. Yes. So now we officially have the E that will be attached at the end of the day when we're filing this. So
that's how they know I was here.
Yes,
how I leave my
absolutely true. So today is a pretty stacked day. Coming up in about 10 minutes, we find out what's going on at Sporting JAX with their new director of soccer. It is Mark Warburton is the first sporting director and head of soccer for Sporting JAX. And so I think Mark is overseas, and Sporting JAX president and CEO Steve Livingston are going to come in. So it'll be a 2v1 coming up in about 10 minutes and finding out what's going on at Sporting JAX. Then our buddy Nino Torres is going to come in, and we're going to go around the world with Nino. Last night, and this was one of the points that I made with Nino, I said, I don't know how Millonarios and Santa Fe are going to finish up at 11 v10, because it was, by the time I had tuned in late in the first half, there was already a red card for Santa Fe. With about 20 minutes to go, there was an absolute fight on the field. I mean, literally, it was one of those line brawls that we're used to seeing in the National Hockey League. And you had folks pairing. Yeah. You had folks pairing off. You had a scrum of like 6 and 8. And at one point, it was 3v3 and 4v4. Man in the middle is trying to get his ARs over, and they're trying to separate folks. And folks are coming off the bench trying to pull players apart. One yellow card.
Well, that right there sounds like the old Mark Geiger thing of the rule book bends. Oh. And you're just trying to get at that point, you're like, I've already given a red card. Everybody's broken off into separate fights, and I just need this game to try and end 10v11, maybe 10v10, because I don't want to write a history paper match report.
Oh.
I think that's where it is sometimes with officials, like especially when everybody's everybody's running hot anyway. And they forgot to put the antifreeze in.
Yes.
and everything just starts burning up and everyone just gets pissy, like I think there gets to a point where, and this is a question for Bart, of where you're going to bend that rule book more to say, hey, we got to try and I don't want this game to end like the Kalapale legend of a team that got the entire team in the subs got Reds.
Yes.
Like you want to try and end the game with everybody on the field. And yeah, it's going to be tricky sometimes. And you might have to just like pull everybody apart and be like, look, all of you are on every conceivable form of standby. I will send you off.
I'll send you
Is
off.
it out? You got it. You got it out of your system. Y'all got a chance to scrap. We're done. It's over. Kind of treat it like a hockey thing. Like what was the? Oh my God! It was the one of the hockey refs like did his announcement where he's like, like everyone has a game has like a 5-minute fighting penalty plus numerous other penalties. I think is what he said.
See, that's fantastic. That sounds like something Don Koharski would have done.
I think it was him.
So, but no, it's
sorry. I'm also really bitter right now because the Winnipeg Jets might win the President's Cup.
Well, that really, full disclosure, that really hasn't won a whole lot for folks in the past. Just because you win the pie plate doesn't mean, and you win the Captain America, protector device doesn't mean you end up winning the big thing at the end. So, if everything goes through Manitoba, that's cool, but you still gotta make your way through. And everybody's looking at Dallas with what they were able to do at the trade deadline with the Dallas Stars, and let that roll down. But good on them, and good on Thomson Reuters for investing and making sure that you're going to be losing a lot of money every single season that you're investing. So, Mark Thompson's just like, I'm gonna throw money at the problem, go right up against the top of the salary cap, and we'll see what happens. And right now, all they've done is they've won a lot in the regular season.
I know the pie plate doesn't mean a lot, but there's more than we ever had here.
That's true. I mean, we did have a division title, and we did have a first round playoff exit to the New York Rangers, and then you come back the next season and you end up with a shaky start, and then the front office decides that they want to dispose of a Bob Artley and find out what's going on with Bob Artley and DeTrasher, and find out what's going on there, because it was listening to him was like listening to Boom Boom Jeffrey on when it was having conversations. So I mean, it was always fun to cover that squad. But yeah, it looks like the Winnipeg Jets are working their way toward getting the pie plate and the number one seed in the West and the number one seed for everything. So I'm looking forward to whiteout.
Then they lose in the first round in 6 games.
Oh yeah, and then everybody is going to be just raging, rage like the blinding of a light. Quoting Dylan Thomas. So that's how it's going to be. Coming up in a couple of minutes, it's going to be our Sporting JAX update. Steve Livingston, Mark Warburton are going to hang out with us, and we get to play the athletics diversion of Love Connection. I'm warning. I don't know if Mark and Steve were warned about. I want to find out how this relationship came to be. I want to know what that first date was like. Did Steve take Mark out to a nice dinner? Now I want to find out how this happened. Who saw what in whom? What it was like. So we're going to get into that and find out what Mark envisions for the future for Sporting JAX on the First Coast. That's going to come up here in a couple of minutes. And so it'll be a fun conversation there once again with our buddy Nino Torres coming up at 10 o'clock and Niko Moreno joining us at 10:30. So it'll be a well-rounded day. So I think we're going to be on both sides of the Atlantic, the First Coast, Peru, and Seattle by the time we're done. And Jared's driving to work. So that's kind of yes. Yes. All right. So that's the rest of the show. So if you at any point wish to come in and have conversations with folks, then feel free to have a conversation.
Oh yeah. There's going to be moments where the ripcord gets pulled, and the moments where like the glass ceiling shatters.
Okay. Absolutely.
Or the glass shatters, like Stone Cold.
Yes, the glass will shatter. Very, very cool. All right. Thanks for. Yes, that's the opening kickoff, and that's with Jared. So we'll see you in a bit.
Yep.
All right, there goes Jarrett. And so Jarrett's going to do his thing. We're going to bring him in a little early. Mark believes in the legend of Jacksonville. And I don't know if what Mark knows about American football in Jacksonville, but we have folks who come in who come into the room. If they're 5 minutes early, they're on time. If they're on time, they're late. And if they're past that number, then the door is shut and you don't come in. So we're going to bring Mark Warburton in. We don't quite have the appropriate trumpet fanfare, and I know that Steve probably is going to come in 5 minutes, but we don't have the appropriate trumpet fanfare for you. But Mark Warburton, where are you, sir, by the way?
John, I'm in London. I'd
That's
say
what
sunny London, but I'd be lying. It's grey and miserable London at the moment.
We will try to make it less miserable for you for a handful of minutes here. First off, thanks for dropping by the madness that is the morning show. And I wanted to ask you, and when Steve comes in, I'll just bring him in hot as a part of this discussion. But
Sure.
how did this come to be? How did you sit there and it was like, I think the First Coast is a place that I'd really like to be? How did this idea, germinate in your brain?
Well, first of all, the approach, John, was from a man with a Celtic crest on his Instagram. And here's me as an ex-Rangers manager. So that was the immediate intrigue. Thinking, where's this? I didn't know if it's a joke. I didn't know if there was a wind-up. I had no idea, John, what to expect. What I got was a very, very smart guy making me aware of this very exciting project, which carried on conversations for the ensuing 15 months or so. But I got to tell you, at the outset, I honestly thought there was a Celtic Rangers barb coming along, and I was prepared for that.
I was like, wait a second here. There's some Old Firm smack that was going to be happening. Yeah, I think I'll dial him up and we'll talk Old Firm.
Well, I tend to be the low-key one, John. I keep it all very sensible. Steve tends to have green and white hoops everywhere and badges and logos and et cetera, et cetera. So, no, I tend to be the more respectful of the two, but Steve likes to show off his Celtic loyalties.
This is what happens when I take a drink of soda and you're in the middle of that. When you sit there and you look at, okay, I'm going to kick the tires. I want to talk to Mark and see if he's really interested. How much of Sporting JAX and what they were trying to do and where they were going, how much intel did you have going into the process, and how much of the soccer encyclopedia did you have to break out here and go, Funk and Wagnalls, okay, Jay, so Sporting JAX, how much research did you have to do?
John, I got to tell you, you heard of my announcement. I said I didn't know what to expect from that first conversation. Honestly, no idea. And then Steve explained it really well about the intentions, the area, what it needed, crying out for professional soccer, men and women, the academy. And over the next 2 or 3 hours, John, fair play to Steve. He sold it exceptionally well. And we kept on talking. I mean, at the first time, it was very much, thanks very much, Steve, nice conversation. Didn't think it'd go any further. But then as the conversations intensified and the level of flow of communication improved, it was really apparent this is a big project. This is a really big project. And it's one, John, that would allow me, I've been very lucky and privileged to be an academy director, a technical director, and a first team manager, head coach, as you call it. So this allows me to utilize all 3 areas. So that was the really intriguing aspect of it.
Have you always thought of yourself as a creator, or is that a role in all of the roles that you've had that you've enjoyed the most?
To be honest, I never had. I was a bang average young professional. I was a semi-pro for the bulk of it. I was never a Steven Gerrard, Frank Lampard, Wayne Rooney type of player, John. So therefore, I always envisaged when I moved from the city, I had a big job in the trading markets for 20 years. When I moved into football, I always envisaged being in the youth side. So youth development was the focus. I never for 1 second thought I was going first team. And that's the way football and sport works in general, is just these bizarre doors open up for you and you have to walk through or not walk through. But that was always my focus. And throughout my managerial career, John, always gone for promoting young players, young, hungry players. I've always lived by the mantra. Yes, you said early on time is late. That's one of my big mantras. But the other one is, if you're good enough, you're old enough. And that's always driven me in terms of getting the young players in, developing them, seeing them progress, how far they can go. And that's always a joy, and it's always a privilege to watch.
What's it like to see a younger player get it? And I mean, in the sense of understand the messaging, understanding the greater idea of a franchise. What's it like to see a young player get it from absolute zero and understand the gravity of what they're doing and understand their own set of personal responsibility and, getting it before someone who comes in at 23, 24, 25? What's it like to see that young player get it and understand what you're getting at?
Well, there's 2 aspects to that, John, to answer it. The young players, it's a long period of time. The academy education, for example, prepares the player, technically, physically, tactically, yes, psychologically, but prepares him for all these levels of challenge. And the higher the challenge they can get at the younger the age group, the better their education as they go through. When you get older and agents become involved, then you have to understand the responsibility of decision making. Do I go to a Premier League club and sit on the bench? Do I stay in the Championship and I play 45 games out of 46 and further my playing time? These are the decisions that it's about career development over money, for example. When you're age 21, 2, 3, 4, develop your career. When you get a little bit older, then the money comes calling if you do the first bit right. So it's all about good decision making, John. But the academy prepares these young players, boys and girls, for what they're going to face later in life, in their sporting life.
When you saw the lay of the land and all the relationships that are starting at Sporting JAX there in North Florida and their outreach and everything, what are you the most confident about from what you've been able to see about the foundation for Sporting JAX, and what do you think your biggest challenge is going to be?
I think the real positive, John, is the sporting ethos, the American ethos, the competitive. I've always loved it. I lived in Charlotte much earlier, many years ago. I lived in Chicago. I love that American psyche, that will to win, desire to win. And of course, the talent pool being so big, it's 380 million people, John. It's a vast talent pool. So that's a real positive. The negative is also the positive in the fact is it's about developing the elite players for the pro game. Yes, everyone in an academy, for example, is catered for and looked after with the same level of care and attention. But John, we're looking at the one or two that might get through to that pro level. And I keep being told, I spoke to someone the other day and they said, we won 4-0. My question will be, who's the best player on the pitch? Is it a Jacksonville player or is it an opposition player? Yeah, but we won 4-0. Yeah, but who are the two best? And that's the key, John. Have we got the best players on our team? Win, lose, or draw. Who are the best players? Are they performing well, etc.? And it's trying to differentiate. Of course, we all want to win. Who doesn't? But the fact is, when you're developing young players, they've got to come through. And they may not necessarily be on a winning team, John. The best player on the pitch might be the opposing team losing 3-0. But if he can play well or she can play well in a losing team, what would they be like in a really good team?
And we are now joined by the odd man rush portion of the program. It is now Sporting JAX president and CEO Steve Livingston. Steve is now hanging out with us. Good morning,
hey, John.
All right,
hey Mark.
Steve, good morning.
How you doing? It's been a while.
Wait. Did you guys talk yesterday afternoon or something?
Oh, we
We talked about you, John.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. I'm gonna just do this.
John, I was warning him to be very careful in what he said to you.
You were warning him, Steve?
No, not at all.
You're warning the man about what he's getting into being here on a morning show in the southeastern United States. I see you working, Steve.
I said Soccer Down Here's a cool show with a great host, and just it's kind of easy going, relaxed, and he would enjoy meeting you. So that was the gist of it.
And so I got into the conversation with Mark when he joined in, and literally I asked about the first date that the two of you had, and he said that there was some old firm, that he was concerned that there was going to be some old firm smack that was going to be going on here with the Rangers and Celtic here.
Yeah. It always comes up. I mean, obviously, a boy from Glasgow that grew up a quarter of a mile from Celtic Park, and a former Rangers manager who did very well for Rangers as well, I would add. And we were actually on the Celtic side quite happy to see him go. But the way it comes back to, obviously, is a fierce rivalry in the city there, and there's a lot of nonsense that goes on with it as well. To be honest with you, that I think the majority of both Celtic and Rangers fans are tired of. I look back at, I get my inspiration when we started talking to Mark. Not only from Mark, because he's just a fantastic guy, great coach, extremely qualified, perfect for what we were looking for. But then I look back at two Celtic and Rangers greats in Tommy Burns, who was our one of our most famous players, passionately followed by the club, loved by the club, managed the club as well. And a lot of people forget that Tommy spent time with the great and legendary Rangers manager Walter Smith, coaching the Scotland team. So there's a great example two sides of the city kind of coming together for the betterment of a bigger project. And that's the way I like to see it with Mark and I. So if Tommy and Waller can do it, then Mark and I can certainly do it.
Absolutely.
The breaking of the bread and the handshake across the St. Johns River. I see how this plays. You're going to get it. There's going to be that big shaking of hands and the jerseys and such. So Mark, let me ask you this. We talked about the challenges and the expectations and things like that. What is your timetable for coming back over here to this side of the Atlantic and establishing the house at Mark Warburton Estates, and then we sit there and what's your timetable for being over here full time?
I'm flying back on Sunday, John. It's coming over. It's a brief trip, seeing some clubs over here, seeing one this morning, going to one straight after this call as well. So yeah, back on Sunday. And it's not about Mark Warburton or Steve Livingston, it's about a team.
Yeah.
I know you're joking. I know you're joking. But it's important to stress that there's a lot of people doing a lot of work for this project. So the vision is there, the desire is there, the hunger's there, but it's about a lot of people working tirelessly to try and achieve that goal as well.
So, Steve, when you have Mark in the fold, obviously for you, it's a great sense of excitement to have him be sporting director, head of soccer. When you were having the first couple of dates, what were your expectations? It's like, okay, I've got a sheet of paper. Here are my expectations. What were those expectations that obviously Mark checked off for you? But what's like, okay, I need this, and this from you. And he was obviously cool with that.
I think it really, obviously Mark's resume and experience and reputation kind of preceded him. So it really wasn't a case of hearing about his background and what he'd done. That's all documented and out there. And I think for us, it was just more of a case of getting to know one another. And, Mark is big on this. I'm big on this as well. That kind of camaraderie, if you like, that esprit de corps, that kind of, do you mesh with someone? Do they see the same things that you're seeing for our organisation? And again, this wasn't just down to two people. This was about the bigger club. And, as a club, we have high expectations and we want to be ambitious. We want to do things differently. We want to try and learn from best practices. That's a huge thing that I've always been, high on ever since, 20 years with the NFL. That's a league that's built on best practices. So what can we do to be the best that we can be? And for us, that was immediately the USL. So to actually be introduced to someone of Mark's caliber and to land someone of Mark's calendar, that was a no-brainer. Mark was also very patient through our process as well. We had a lot of stops and starts with our project as the stadium, developed and then didn't develop and then developed again. And I'm sure Mark had other opportunities out there as well, but he was very interested in the project. He was passionate about the project. And I think that spoke volumes. So for us, we're really lucky. I mean, to have, again, somebody of Mark's stature, caliber, experience to come in and really take this thing from the whiteboard all the way up is just a phenomenal opportunity for us as a club. So, and I would say for the league as well. If the USL is starting to attract the caliber of people like Mark, then it's headed in the right direction.
Sporting JAX President CEO Steve Livingston alongside Sporting Director Head of Soccer Mark Warburton dropping by here on the morning show. And we've officially reached halftime. And so now we're going 46 minutes and going for another 10. So, Mark, how do you have an expectation level that obviously matches what Steve wants to do when it comes to the growth of the overall program? Then there's the on-the-field product, the expectations there. How do you have expectations, temper expectations, be patient with something new, but at the same time want something of an instant result? How do you navigate all four of those things at once?
Before I answer that, John, thanks, Steve, for the kind words. They are very humbling words, so thank you for that. But it's understanding, I said to you earlier, John, the American psyche, they want to win. So we're in the entertainment industry, so in how our team plays, but we're in the results industry as well. But it's a new project. It's really understanding the fan base and what Steve always spoke about, the hunger, desire to get professional soccer here, women and men. And we've got to understand those needs and meet those needs, John, but do so in a way that's positive with the players. Yes, we're a new franchise and we'll highlight that. But the aspirations within the four walls of Sporting JAX be very, very strong. We want to go out there. We want to produce a team of which the city can be proud. The USL can be proud. We want to push boundaries. We don't want to be average and normal, John. That's not said in an arrogant way. But if you get average and normal, that's your end product is average and normal. We want to be above that. We want to push it. We want to push the aspects of the women's game to make sure it's specific to them. I think too many times a generic approach is adopted. We want to be groundbreaking there with some outstanding performance people. And likewise, a men's game. We want to get a young, hungry squad, one or two senior pros to help mentor and set standards. But it's about us being really brave. That's a word that people don't often mention, John, but it's brave to make some of our decisions. But we've got to be able to give good logic behind them, why we're making them. And then we've got to push them and make sure, as Steve said, follow best practice where relevant, but also be groundbreaking in certain areas.
And Steve, one of the books that I think that everyone should have in their library is Sun Tzu's The Art of War. And it really carries messaging more than just what it was, back in 9 gazillion years ago when he was a great general. The messaging still applies to business and a bunch of other things. And one of the great quotes that has always stuck with me from that book is trust the local guides for they know the terrain. And you have the opportunity for Mark to do that when you brought in Becky Burley to be a technical consultant on the women's side. So Mark isn't coming into this. The knowledge base is there. The understanding is there. But when you have the locals that are there to help out at Sporting JAX with those who come in who are imports, I think that helps out with the greater expectation, the greater messaging, and the greater accomplishment that you guys want to have.
Absolutely, John. And I think it goes back to the wise words that Mark said a moment ago. It's not about one or two people. It's a collective. We're an organisation. We're a team. We'll be operating 2 high-level professional teams, men's and women's. We'll be operating W League and League 2 teams, which are pre-pro. We'll be working with our partners over at Florida Elite in the development of a world-class pro soccer academy, as well as maintain, the great work that they've done over there and augment that. So we've been very reliant on local knowledge and local people. I think Mark would be the first to admit that, and being able to pair up with people like our previous technical director, Mauricio Ruiz, who helped with introductions, and then working with Becky, all her people. Becky is, again, we've talked about this before, one of the biggest Rolodexes I've ever seen in my life when it comes to, soccer and women's soccer in particular. But we should also probably mention and talk about Sean Bob at Florida Elite as well, who's very well connected across the college scene. So, and I'll probably let Mark add to this because it's his area of expertise. But I think that was only fair of us to introduce Mark to that network when he came in. And we really see this as a fusion of his expertise, his abilities, his experience, meshing with that local approach to things and being able to create something really special.
So what's it like having this network, Mark?
No, it's tremendous, John. Becky's been outstanding in terms of she's been on hand. I've phoned and pestered her probably, and she's got other bits and pieces going on in her life, but I've been pestering her and getting some great information, and it's invaluable, John. So yeah, that's been very, very helpful. And likewise, Sean is on hand 24/7. I'll phone him late this afternoon and understanding the youth scene, which is so complex but so dominant in America, understanding how it works, the elite club, national league, etc. All of this is new information for me. But what it also does is it allows me to use my own knowledge in terms of what I see in a player, John. So I think there's a big emphasis over here on that's a Div 1 school, or that's a lower class school, or she's no good, or he's no good because she's playing in that program. But a good player is a good player. Now, you can be I said to you earlier, you could be a good player on a team that loses 5-0. You'd be the best player on the park. So what would you be in a really good team? So the idea is to try and use my eyes, and I say it very humbly, my knowledge, my experience of working with young players, and apply the hints and the helpfulness from the likes of Becky and Sean to understand where those players stand in the rankings, so to speak. And it's fine. It's about making good decisions, John. You don't get everyone right. But as the old Brentford owner always used to say, he used to say to me, if I'm right 51% of the time, Mark, I make money. So we've got to try and be right, a bit better than 51%. If we can get near a 7 out of 10 right, John, we're in a good place.
So obviously, with you being head of soccer, there's the overarching philosophy and the goals that you want to accomplish, but it has to be done with all of these different divisions and clubs and everything. And having those lieutenants to help you out with the messaging and the philosophizing is obviously going to be vital, but they've all got to be going back to the top of the pyramid with the messaging. Obviously, how do you sort out all of the different leagues and clubs and the alphabet soup? And it's like, okay, I need the academy to do this. I need USL Super League to do this. I need League 2 to do this. I need, championship to do this. How do you sort it all out, but still have the philosophy still be the same?
You've got to simplify it, John, and you've got to make sure that you understand that good people in any industry want to be responsible. And by being responsible, they want to be accountable. So I'm never going to sit there and say your team must play like this. Your team must be in that formation. He or she must play. I will never, ever do that. I've been a manager for enough games. That's the last thing I needed, John. But what you can do is there's certain traits that I want our teams to display. For example, speed of ball movement, intensity of the press, understanding our jobs without the ball, creation of chances, key area, all these various basic metrics, John. I want our team to display those. But that can be relayed to the coaches, him or her, and how they go about that. I'm there to help and advise and offer opinion and that, but also make sure you delegate responsibility and make sure they relish it. That's what good people want. And our job, everyone at Sporting JAX, Steve, all the senior board, is to hire people who recognize skills and delegate appropriately. So, yeah, there's a message. Of course there is. And you can filter it all down. But to try and simplify it, I think, is best. And to have consistent and clear messaging is really important.
So did what Mark just say happen on the first date, Steve, or did that happen like second or third date when the two of you were having coffee and croissants?
That's hard. I mean, I think these relationships evolve. It's not just I think it's a culmination of phone calls and meetings and going back and forward. And to a great extent, we were doing our best to sell our program to Mark, rather than Mark kind of sell what he can do to us. We kind of, again, knew what he was capable of. And that's what we wanted. That's what we identified. And we were just lucky in doing that. I would say one thing on the collaboration side of things, though, that I think is important is the amount of support and the amount of help that we've had from the community, from the soccer community, has been overwhelming. It's been incredible. And a lot of that goes back to, what Mark mentioned about Jacksonville and our market. It's passionate about soccer. When we were working at the Armada 10 years ago, we had probably had about, 150,000 soccer enthusiasts in the market. The marketing companies like YouGov and Nielsen tell us that's closer to 400,000 now. We've seen a huge growth in the city. We've seen a huge diversification in the city as well. Lots of people coming from the Northeast, from California, up from South Florida. And there's such a desire, it's palpable, in our community to get high-level soccer played, so that people can come out and see it, experience it, see it live, but also create this pathway, if you like, for their kids to develop and play at the highest level here in our community. In fact, Mark's probably had some phone calls from players that maybe originated from Jacksonville that are in different parts of the world now that maybe want to come back down the road. So, that's exciting. It's exciting to kind of scratch that itch, if you like, and satisfy that need and that requirement. And, we're obviously can't wait to get going with it.
So the announcement came out a week ago, Mark. Has your phone blown up since then?
It's been fairly busy, John, I would say. I think that the fact that I'm sitting here, John, with two calls like this tells you all you need to know. That's all you need to know. And the fact they're both charging tells you more as well. So, no, it's been great. And Steve's point, there's this desire for Jacksonville community to assist and help, which has been magnificent. But there's back in the UK, John, they love a homegrown player. The fans love a homegrown player.
Yeah.
That sentiment is equally as strong in Jacksonville. The one caveat I'm saying is that homegrown player has got to be good enough. They love the romance of a homegrown player. A girl comes back to Jacksonville, plays in the first game, scores a hat-trick, magnificent. But the fact is, you've got to make sure that they are good enough to come in and add value to the level. And that's the key. So it's making sure if there's good players in Jacksonville, John, that we can use, rest assured we're going to get them in the lineup. but it's making sure, as I say, we hunt out the best players possible. It's because it's about our team being as good as it can possibly be. And that's the idea. Make sure on and off the pitch we demonstrate the values and the character that is good for Jacksonville. So that's going to be the aim, without doubt.
So, Steve, are you going to get Mark a third phone when he comes over here, or is he just going to stick with those two?
You might need it when we start recruiting for the men's team. So yeah, who knows?
I mean, I had to ask. And by the way, do not be afraid to come up north of the state line, because there's a lot of good high school talent, a lot of good college talent up I-95 heading toward Savannah as well. So don't be afraid to go to Camden County and Richmond Hill and head your way up north. Before we go, Steve, I know that there was some big news that came out where you're going to have 3 sideways stripes that are going to be a part of jerseys and gear going forward.
These guys, yeah. Really excited about that. A bit like the discussions with Mark, it happened over a long period of time. Adidas were looking at the Jacksonville market, but really scratching their head a little bit about how they could get into the market, given the kind of fractured nature of youth soccer here, which obviously we're trying to address and trying to bring everybody together. It would be nice if common sense and cool heads would, figure that one out. But I think one of the catalysts for Adidas was the start of the men's and women's pro teams. And then obviously our association with Florida League, the largest youth soccer club in Florida, was, a big attraction as well. But the folks at Adidas have been great. We've been working kind of with them on the kit design, the uniform design. We're looking forward to having an announcement on that probably towards the end of April, and putting together some kind of event that will get the public interested. I know you're always interested in getting a replica up there. So
me, brother. If it's the gear that fits and I don't screw it up in the laundry, I'm going to wear it.
You're first on the list, John. So we're waiting on that kind of coming through right now. But really excited about that. And again, I think it goes back to this idea of trying to do everything top notch, world class, to the best of our ability. And I think you would have an argument, saying that there's better apparel out there for soccer specifically than as produced by Adidas. Obviously, one of the leaders, one of the world leaders in that equipment. So we're just excited about that relationship and how that moves forward. And can't wait to have the 3 stripes out there and represent our colours in Jacksonville with pride.
No doubt about it. Gentlemen, it's great to see you. Mark, when you get to this side of the Atlantic, I hope that when you look north and go into the skies that it's more blue than it is gray when you come back over here. The new first sporting director, head of soccer at Sporting JAX, and our buddy Steve Livingston, Sporting JAX president and CEO. Gentlemen, go enjoy your coffee. Go enjoy your tea, depending on what part of the planet you are on. Go get your breakfast. Go get your brunch. Thanks for dropping by. You know that the door is always open. You can come by for updates at any time because, as always, it's right here. It's right there. So I'm still trying to figure out the shot. There we go. But if I turn it, if it's a close-up, you can't really see it. If I get out...
It's nice that you're wearing the colours as well there, John. I think that was wholly appropriate. Which club is that?
This is the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation. This is our friends, the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation.
I love the fact it's blue and white, John, and not green and white. That's great. That's music for me.
There we go. There
I can't believe you went there, Mark.
Not too, Steve.
With the two of you running Old Firm Smack, I figured that was going to get in here somewhere.
We may have to reach out to the Marshall Islands. In fact, Mark, I may have to send you to the Marshall Islands after that comment.
Well, hey, look, we have been a great partner with them. They are the last country on the planet trying to get a National Soccer Federation 11v11 team out there. Yeah. And we've been helping them out as best we can with publicity and things. And they're actually going to have their first ever 11v11 tournament in August in Springdale, Arkansas, at John Brown University against 3 other U.S. territories. Guam, the Turks and Caicos, and the U.S. Virgin Islands are going to be squaring off against the Marshall Islands in their first ever 11v11, and they've got a Kickstarter campaign going trying to make sure that they can pull that week off in Arkansas, because that is the second highest concentration of Marshallese personnel and people outside of the Marshall Islands themselves. And so we've been really big helping them out with the project.
Oh, you should definitely connect us, John. Maybe they can swing by Jacksonville at some time. We'll give them a friendly.
Absolutely.
We love the colours.
Maybe worth a scouting trip, Steve.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be fantastic. So what I will do when I'm off the air today is I will send you, Steve, I will send you Lloyd Hours as their technical director, and he is on Mark's side of the Atlantic right now because he just got back from the island doing another clinic, and they're building it through futsal, and they're gradually working their way forward with that. But when I'm off the air today, I will shoot you Lloyd's email and the info that I have. Two of you can combine, and the three of you can combine, and I'm hoping that some magic can happen. That'd be fantastic.
I love it. Well, that's what soccer's all about: breaking down barriers, bringing people together.
Absolutely, very cool. So, Mark, be safe. We'll see you soon. Steve, don't be.
John.
No, you can't. We'll catch up with you soon, guys. Thanks for dropping by.
Thanks as always, John.
Thanks, John. Bye-bye now.
All right, Mark Warburton, Steve Livingston, and that is Sporting JAX in a nutshell in 20-plus minutes. They got to come and hang out and let us know what's going on there. So Mark Warburton is the club's first ever sporting director, head of soccer. Steve Livingston, friend of the network, friend of the show, is their president and CEO. And so to find out about how things happened, very, very cool, involving that. But no, and as we sit here and we go, I'm going to send them Lloyd's info. So Lloyd is on notice that he might be getting an email from Steve Livingston, Mark Warburton, and hopefully they can, see what's going on there as the game continues to grow. And as Steve said, that's what it's all about. Coming up in a couple of minutes, we go fully loaded with our buddy Nino Torres and let you know what's going on with everything around the planet in 30 minutes or less. And then it's our buddy Niko Moreno, who's going to be joining us at 10:30. We'll break down everything from the Pacific perspective there and find out what's going on in Major League Soccer in Seattle. Obviously, Paul Arriola, the big news there. What are they going to do? I think they had, we talked about it last week, a little over $1 million in Garber bucks that they can play with and try, plus the prorated salary figure to help out there as well to go up against the books. And so we'll see what happens there with all of that. And so that's hour number 2. Obviously, with Lloyd and Matt Webb being two of the busiest men on the planet, we will find a way to find out. We will find a way to make sure that everything is okie dokie and incredibly cool with them as they go forward. So very, very cool there to discuss what's going on. And as if you look at Niko, latest on Ryan Kent, injury updates and observations from the Sounders training and a preview of match week 6. So there we go. He's even said it on his Twitters. So looking forward to having Niko Moreno coming in about an hour. All right. So before we transition to being fully loaded by our buddy Nino Torres, like I said, I have not seen what he wants to bring to the table. I never do. So that way it is a fresh conversation about everything that goes on that he sees, whether it's transfers, the opening of the super incredible transfer window in June looks like it's going to happen. And you're going to have folks transferring from Sporting over to the Premier League. We'll talk about that. Talk about what happened last night with Millonarios and Santa Fe in Colombia, where it was chaos. And like I was talking with Jarrett earlier in the hour, it's only one yellow out of the batch. Santa Fe had an early red card, so they were down to 10 to begin with. Then with about 20 to go, game went completely and totally sideways. And out of the multiple scrums and the line brawls that were there, the pushing and shoving and fouling and all that kind of stuff, you get one yellow card out of the rest of it. I swear to God, I thought it was going to be 9v9 by the time it was done. But it was not. So there you go. Tonight, quoting Phil Collins, tonight, 5 and 7. After the show this morning, I drive down to Perry. And it is my first chance to call matches at St. Clair, where it is Warner Robins and Perry tonight. Girls at 5, boys at 7. That'll be on the network at soccerdownhere.mixler.com. You can go to the Mixler app, and you can listen to it there. You can go web browser, soccerdownhere.mixler.com, or what you can do is you can go to soccerdownhere.net, hit the listen tab, and then when there's a live event going on, the listen tab kind of like lets you know it has a bit of a siren to it. and you can click on SDH1, and you can listen to it that way too. And you get to listen to those 2 matches tomorrow. Then on Friday, SDH 1 and 2 will have action for you on a fantastically fabulous Freestyle Friday on the air. Drew Dickinson and I will be at Dave Hunter Community Stadium on the campus of Brookwood High School for the Battle of Five Forks Trickham. It is going to be Parkview and Brookwood. We'll have that one for you. Jason and the rest of the crew will be out at Sharp Stadium in Covington for North Oconee and Eastside, and that'll be on the network as well. One of those will be on SDH1, one will be on SDH2. And so we'll figure out which one is where, and we'll let you know. But once again, you're going to fire up SDH1 and SDH2 on Friday, Parkview and Brookwood, North Oconee, and Eastside. So those will be on the air on Friday. Today, later this afternoon, Warner Robbins and Terry is a part of everything there. And all right, so we have a bit of a collision here. So let me see what's going on. Morning, Matt. How are you?
Hey, John. How you doing? Great to see you.
You tell me, brother. This might be a bit of a crossover with other guests that are coming in. I know that I wanted to catch up with. So is it just you, or is it you and Lloyd? What are we doing?
I've got the last minute call up. I'm afraid you've got the understudy. Lloyd sent me a very frantic message a few months ago saying, I don't think
it's all good. No,
don't think you're going to make it. So, yeah.
No, it's all good. So, literally, I just wanted to spend a couple of minutes with you before our buddy Nino Torres comes in and we tour the planet. I just wanted to get a quick update from you about what's going on with our friends there with the Marshall Islands. I know that Lloyd had been on the island. I know the Kickstarter campaign. So, literally, this is just going to be like you and me for a couple of minutes, and the door is going to be always open. I figured, not knowing who was going to be here today, I figured I'd go with the original, go with the OG jersey. So, give us the OG jersey. Give us the update about what's going on. What's the latest?
Yeah, so you may have seen last week, so last Wednesday, we announced our first ever 11-a-side international fixtures. Because we are maybe a little bit crazy, we decided to not just do one fixture. Let's hold an entire tournament. So we're bringing the Outrigger Cup, being the tournament we penned last year. So we're bringing that to Springdale, Arkansas in August of this year. And we're really excited to welcome Guam, Turks and Caicos, and the US Virgin Islands to Springdale in August. Obviously, we've taken on an enormous undertaking. You've seen we've got a Kickstarter. Obviously, we're gratefully receiving kind of any pledges, which include kind of rewards such as live streaming tickets, fan packs, even a chance to be a part of a backstage team as well. So if there's anyone crazy out there who wants to be part of the kind of coaching team, that's an opportunity as well. So we're opening this up and obviously, looking to get this off the ground.
No doubt. So how I know that the blitz has been amazing so far. Right now, you're at about 20%. You're at about 20% of your goal. Looking at things in U.S. dollars, you're looking for just under 26,000 right now. You're at just under 5 in a little under a week's time. That's very, very cool starting this runway that you have.
Yeah, so incredibly grateful for everyone who's pledged so far. And even if people aren't in a position to pledge, even just sharing our story, engaging and sending us well wishes are always welcome. Just keeping it positive all the time. I mean, the Kickstarter amount isn't the full amount that's needed. So we're looking to raise a total of over 100,000 US dollars. Obviously, that costs, if you're looking behind the scenes, we're looking at around 30K to bring team members from RMI to the US. And then obviously as a host nation, we have to kind of cover the costs of the visiting teams as well. And you're looking at around 20K for each of those as well. So whilst we're trying to do things as efficiently as possible, it's kind of a bit of a behind the scenes of how much it costs to host an international match. And we're looking to, obviously there's a bit of a shortfall between the Kickstarter and the total amount, which we're looking to raise through sponsorship and any other means.
What has it been like to see, obviously, this first round of folks and the support that's there and all of that? So what has it been like for you guys to see this groundswell of support? Because I know that you and Lloyd and everybody, you guys have been going through the media car wash trying to sit there and get the word out. But what's the early response been like?
Oh, it's been so overwhelmingly positive. I think it's ever since we kind of really kickstarted this project back in January of 23, I think it was now, to the kind of world, it's what everyone's been wanting to see. So we felt a lot of pressure on our shoulders to do it justice. Obviously, we had other options of the different routes we could have gone down for our first ever 11-a-side match, but we felt this was kind of the appropriate way to do it justice as well. So yeah, we're incredibly grateful, overwhelmed as always with the positive support. And obviously it's definitely been the world, but it's enabled this project to succeed. So we're looking forward to kind of everyone coming together again and us putting on a show for them.
No doubt. When it came to determining Springdale, Arkansas, John Brown University, it's a no-brainer. And before you came in, I tried to explain that right up there in the four corners, up there in northwest Arkansas, in eastern Oklahoma, really it's northeastern Oklahoma outside of Tulsa, right there in that four corners, it is one of the highest concentrations of Marshallese population outside of the islands themselves. So it seemed like it was a natural for it to be there, even though there have been clinics in the past up in the upper Midwest, up in Minnesota and such. How did you come upon Springdale and John Brown, and what was their response like in northwest Arkansas when you was like, yeah, we want to do this?
Yeah, so obviously during the planning phase, we obviously wanted to host the match in the Marshall Islands itself, but us being a non-FIFA nation and the costs and time it takes for opposing teams to come to us, there wasn't exactly an overwhelming response of people wishing to come to the Marshall Islands to play that first game. Hopefully that's going to come. That's going to come with time. So in the future, we will be playing lots of matches in our home nation. Springdale, Arkansas, as you alluded to, being the greatest population of Marshallese people, we've built some really strong connections there. So we've held 2 women's national team camps there, both in February 24 and March 25, just gone. So yeah, we've built some really strong connections there. When we've been there, we've met with the coaches at John Brown University and also the University of Arkansas too. So we felt like we've got some really strong connections behind us and people wishing us well as well. So that's how that's come about.
What else can folks do in addition to the Kickstarter campaign and buying the gear? And I always explain to folks that when you go to the store, you can get all the gear, and it comes from you and Player Layer and everybody else and the relationships that you have there in England, but the scarves come from here in the office.
Yeah.
And in our small way, we've been really humbled that you guys embraced us to help out as a part of the process as well. What else can folks do outside of the Kickstarter campaign, buy the gear? What else can folks do to help move the things forward?
For me, it's word of mouth. I think I'm always conscious of asking people to put their hands in the pockets and in their wallets all the time to contribute. I think even if you're just sharing our story, if you're on social media, you can share it. If you can tell your friends about something interesting you read about, like the Marshall Islands first ever match, that will help us massively. So outside of pledging on our Kickstarter, as you mentioned, supporting us with merchandise, just spreading the word. I think the thing I get the most from about this project is teaching people about the Marshall Islands. Obviously, I'm not Marshallese myself, but I feel like such a part of a project now, and I feel humbled to be able to tell people and spread the good word.
As are we, my friend. Do not be a stranger, please. You and Lloyd just bang on a door at any time. Let us know what's going on. We're going to obviously, let's put it this way. We've already got it marked on the calendar about coming out there at the very least for the second half of that week for the semifinals or the outrigger and for the final on the 14th and the 16th. So I've already earmarked that space. And the boss, by the way, who has her own fathead here on set, she's like, "We're going, right?" And I said, "Yeah, of course we're going."
You've got VIP seats, John. Don't you worry. You and the team.
It's all good. No, thank you, my friend. Do not be a stranger. Bang on our door at any time. Let us know what we can do to help and get the word out. And like I said, figured I'd bust out the OG jersey for you today. Be safe, my friend. We'll catch up with you soon.
Great to see you. Take
all
care,
right.
everyone.
There goes Matt Webb. And so Matt gives us the quick update on the Marshall Islands and what's going on there. And so that means we go from, all right, so let me see if I can break this down right. We'll bring Nino in. And so, Nino, let me see if I can get my math right. So we started out the show with a guest in London and a guest in Jacksonville. Then we go back to London to get our guest spot with Matt Webb from the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation. Now we're down with you in Lima, Peru, before we catch up with Niko Moreno in Seattle. So literally it's been Jacksonville, London, London, Lima, Pacific Northwest. There's no L there, but Snohomish. So that's where we are right now. Oh, by the way, yellow. What's going on?
Yellow. Soccer fans, I hope you got your miles club because we are going like 1,000,000 miles already, like in the first couple hours in your morning. So get ready your membership cards and everything else because we're gonna go fully loaded for you guys.
Yep. So once again, as I always tell folks, I ask you where we're going. and I don't want to know where we're going until I see it. And so literally, I'm flying blind into these conversations about where you want to go around the world in 30 minutes. But I do want to start with something that I saw last night, and it was Millonarios and Santa Fe in Colombia. And Santa Fe in the first half got a red, so it was 11-10 for a lot of the action. They ended up being a couple of goals down. It was 2-0 with about 20 minutes to go. Chaos breaks out. Literally, Santa Fe took up. All right. So, as someone who has played the sport, you're in the sport, you know what's going on. When a team with a lead, with about 20 minutes to go, they're sitting on the lead. You have a winger go down the near side, edge of the 18, and he knows he's got some space, and he knows he's trying to eat up some clock, and he stands on the ball. Literally, he dribbles to a point, and then he stands on the ball for a couple of seconds. If you're on defense and you see that happen from a young winger with a lead, what is your first response to something like that?
Call 911. Call 911 because your legs are not going to go back in business for a long time, brother. That's what's going to happen. You better call your mama, call your daddy, call somebody else because those legs are going to get broken. That no question.
And that is just about what happened with that particular. Literally, from there, it was a line brawl. I mean, it was on. Stood on the ball for a couple of seconds, and he tries to pull back and continue possession and dribble backwards. He got taken out, the player in question, the young winger. And that basically created a 5v5. I mean, everybody was in piles and picking fights, and I mean, it got bad. Out of the deal.
Right, but now listen, right? So I said call 911, yes, because I'll probably tackle this guy really harsh. But on the others, and this is the other part of the view here. I have no problem with talented players doing tricks, magic, whatever you want to call it, but if you that standing on the ball doesn't do anything. Doesn't do anything. What's the private chat? Oh, I'll come back. Oh
no, Tyler Terrence. It's like Tyler. I wanted Tyler to come in on Friday in this hour to talk things for all of his stuff. So, so Tyler, yeah. Okay, so before Tyler goes, Tyler's in the green room. So by the way,
okay,
I'm going to do a quick introduction. So Tyler's a day early. So Tyler came in.
Hey Tyler, how you doing, man?
What's up, Nino? How you doing, brother?
So,
I'm all right, man.
So Tyler came in yesterday, and he was prepping because he's calling Atlanta United and the NYCFC this weekend with Kinder D. St. Aubin on Apple TV. And so we're trying to give Tyler 47 hours before he comes in on Friday as he's coming into town to figure out where he's going to go eat and all these kinds of things. And so Nala is staying at home. The lovely and talented Nala is staying at home. And so we are in the process. This is how geeked Tyler is.
Awesome.
Where, first off, if he found the studio space, he's the first person from everyone that we've handed the keys to the kingdom out to come in and crash just randomly to talk about stuff, which is what we do, which is fine. So we're in the process of giving Tyler all the places that he can go eat within an Uber's distance of his hotel, which I imagine is in the heart of beautiful downtown Atlanta come time. So we're in the process of assembling all this information for him on Friday and brunch on Saturday before the match on Saturday night. We're assembling all of this stuff. Tyler's so excited about assembly of information that he came in a day early.
Nino, I'm going crazy over here, man. I was like, it's 10 o'clock.
So good, man. So good.
I literally was like, I'm late. I was like, I'm 10 minutes late. I'm 23 hours early. Is what I am. Oh my God. Anyway, you guys can go back to whatever you were talking about. I also need to make a reservation at some point. So I want to get this train moving. Hopefully the Spanish commentators are going to join me. The producer's going to join. We're going to have a proper night out in Atlanta on Friday.
And by the way, if you want to, for anybody that is coming to town, I mean, literally, if you wanted to send the studio link to Kinder D. St. Aubin, you want to send it to, literally, it is supposed to be a crash pad. That 10 o'clock hour on Friday is a crash pad for venting your spleen and saying whatever is on your mind. So the fact that you came in a day early, I'm humbled.
Listen, By the way, you can't call them NYCFC anymore. We got a note that they only want to be referred to as New York City or
Okay.
NYC.
Well,
No more NYCFC. Yeah.
Oh, really?
So I will be saying that 6 inches from the mirror for the next 24 hours so I don't get an email saying stop referring to them as NYCFC. But surely I'm going to do it by accident at some
that's
point.
$1 in the jar. and
Yeah.
It's $1 in the jar, and we will make sure that happens. So can we still call them pigeons? Can we? Is that still?
You know something, John. Since you're the leader of this family show, you can do whatever you want. All right.
Oh my God! You've opened a door.
Yeah.
And so of course, I feel I don't have a jar here, but I know I'm probably going to have to end up with one now.
You have to give Rowdy a treat every time you say it.
Okay, he's a chicken whore as well. The boss, we literally have to we have to cook chicken for him basically every 2 days because he blows through it. It's like, screw the Royal Canin food. I'm having the chicken as the garnish, and that's it. But what I've determined is I'm going to take this 2-liter, and when I'm done with it, I'm going to cut it in half with like one of those Ronco products that we used to see on the ads growing up. That'll be the jar for all of the dollar fines, and at the end of the year, we'll come up with a charity and we'll donate it. Or actually, tell you what, we'll donate it to the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation as they continue to grow.
Awesome.
About that.
There
So
you
the dollar jar, the dollar fine jar for everything that we do wrong, it's going to go in here, and at the end of the year, we'll donate it to the.
I don't think that one's big enough, John. Big enough.
Hey, it's all good, brother. We'll figure it out, and then I'll just have to keep cutting 2 liters wide open with
There you go.
the Ronco Bassomatic.
I crashed this pad too many times already. Let you go back to whatever you were talking about, and I will come and I will see you tomorrow morning.
See you tomorrow morning, Tyler. Be good.
See you guys.
See you, Tyler.
Wow, that was fantastic. That was great.
Awesome.
So, but yes, to your point about me and Arias in Santa Fe, literally it was dude stood on the ball. Then you end up with line brawls, and you had groups and people pushing around and subsequent fouls with 15 to go. And we got 1 yellow out of the deal.
And one yellow.
One yellow.
And you know what? I think that's this is the proper way to do it, man. Because sometimes the brawl breaks in, and then I got to get this guy a red card. This guy, just a yellow card for you guys. Let's get the business down, man. Let's get down to business, and let's keep it going and whatever is left. But back to the thing that I was saying about the tackle, right? And the time the players doing that. I have no problem with players. Maddie, is Maddie here too? Maddie.
Yep. Maddie crashed. Hang on just a second. So hang on.
Oh, Maddie Cruz is here.
Yep.
Oh, nice. I want to say something to her.
Hang on. All right, here we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
Hello.
So,
man, this is awesome.
So here's how crazy.
Hey, Maddie.
Here's how crazy it's been. Maddie is getting ready for Atlanta United practice, and so Maddie, I don't know. Literally, the 10 o'clock hour has already turned into a crash pad because we're talking a boatload of CONMEBOL before Niko joins us in 15 minutes.
Amazing.
But Tyler,
I love it.
Tyler, get this. Tyler Terrence has already crashed. He came in. He came in yesterday. And I said, okay, Tyler, you can come in Friday in the 10 o'clock hour because we're going to get you food. We're going to get you places to go eat and things like that.
Yeah.
So I said, Tyler, come in Friday in the 10 o'clock hour. Tyler came in 10 minutes ago. He's like,
nice.
Oh, crap. I realized that I'm a day early.
You'll get him on for 3 days then. He'll just come on again tomorrow.
Basically, yes. And so I told him, I said, you want to bring in Kendrick? He said, doesn't matter. So Maddie is now crashing as we're about ready to talk CONMEBOL. So, Nino, what's your question for Maddie?
Ooh.
I don't have a question for her. I just have a big shout out to her. I really love your interviews. I believe that you're doing a fantastic job. You know, I love your questions. I love your style. You keep doing that great job, man. You're
Oh, thank you.
top notch.
Thank you, Nino. Listen, it's always so fun whenever.
It was crazy. And sorry, Maddie, it was crazy because I was thinking about it. I was thinking about talking to John and tell him about you today. You know what? Today I want to talk about Maddie Cruz because I've been watching his tapes, been watching his clips, Heraclips, I'm sorry. And there you are.
I
You're
just
here.
knew.
I can tell
I
you.
knew. I was like, I'm gonna come in. I'm gonna come say hello. But no, I love listening to you guys talk about Comnaball every week. It's so fun. I love it. It's always great. Even if I can't join on Thursdays, I always know that it's happening. So I'll like put it on in my car while I'm waiting for like people to show up for training. I get here a little early because
You're a sicko.
yeah, that is true. I get here early just because you never know. I mean, I'm 15 minutes away normally from the training ground, but sometimes it turns into 30 minutes depending on traffic. So then I'm like, well, I might as well get here early. And I got here way too early because I could have stopped for a coffee and I didn't. And I'm regretting my choices, but it's okay. I have water, so we're fine.
Okay. All right. So let me go fully loaded here with our buddy Nino. Maddie, you can go ahead and listen. I'll put you in the green room and we'll discuss everything. By the way, if you see Chris Ramondi, tell him that we want to have Sonia on the show on Tuesday to talk about Rooted.
Oh, absolutely. I can text her right now.
Okay, well, go through Ramondi because that's official channels.
Absolutely, will do. I will let Chris know. When I see him today, I'll let him know.
Okay, cool. All right, you're going to the green room. We're going to talk about Conmebol.
Do it. Go talk about Comnaball.
All right, here we go. All right, so Nino, here we go. All right, I want to start with Peru. The faith and the harsh truth. What's going on there?
You remember that I said this, that I lost my faith, right? I lost my faith in the team. I didn't know that. I did not believe that they were going to make it happen, and they didn't. They didn't. It was all about, it was more faith than everything else, right? That the actual play, that the actual weapons that this team have. And in the end, it was just only one goal, a penalty. It was a penalty. Everybody's talking here about the referee. He suck. How in the world you put a Chilean referee in a game where we're playing for the points and la la la, and like, dude, all right, we get it. He did incline the pitch to Venezuela. There's no doubt about that, because they were keep fouling and fouling and fouling, and not a single yellow card until the minute 43. All right, after 1,587 fouls from Venezuela, right? I'm sorry, I forgot about these cards, these yellow and red things. Let me show one to you. And in the meantime, we got 2 fouls, 2 yellows. Boom, right away. And not just to any player, right? To our center backs. The 2 center backs played with a yellow for 75 minutes. Okay? And so putting that aside, that's the part that you cannot control, right? You can't control the referee. You can't control his decisions, his judgment, whatever. You can't control your actions. And our actions as a team, as a whole, they did not come true. Venezuela was much more aggressive. And Andre Carrillo, who played a marvelous game against Bolivia, couldn't develop his game until the 60th minute. And everybody's talking about the referee, and everybody is complaining that Brian Reina couldn't get a header. You know what's crazy? This is what drives me nuts, right? When it does, because when journalists criticize the technique of a player, hey, why you kick the ball like that? You should kick it from this angle at this velocity and this la. Brother, I want to see you play. Okay? Because it's amazing, John, the number of journalists here in Peru criticizing Brian Reina because of his header. Oh, how in the world you're going to kick the ball like that? Brother, it's just about timing. You got bad timing, and headers especially. Thank you, Maddie. Appreciate it. And in headers especially, timing is everything. Timing is absolutely everything, because you got 1 second later, 1 second earlier, and the ball won't go the way you want it. Okay, so putting that on side, then Pedro Guerrero after the game, he said he went crazy. He with bad words and everything, right? How in the world? Play. We got a Chilean, play. We got 1 shot on target in the entire night. That's what we lost the game. We didn't lose because of the referee. We didn't lose because of tackles. We lost because we did not create enough offensive chances to score more goals than the opponent. That's what soccer comes down to. The winner scores more goals. Period. There's no science in there. No, but no, nothing. You can blame your dad, your whoever you want to blame. Okay, but no, you were responsible for this, for not creating enough chances, not shooting enough, nothing.
So then let's go to the other side. I thought you might be wearing black today with your appearance because of all of it.
Yeah, I thought about it. I thought about it, but
you're gonna put a face to it. You're gonna put your names to it and everything. All right. So then let's go to the other side. You said that Argentina is going to repeat in Brazil, and their big mouths being shut down. I want to combine those two because it was like Brazil ain't even their younger brother's Brazil, and they're still a mess, man.
It is an absolute mess. I mean, they're still talking in Brazil. I mean, all the big names, right? Romario, Denilson, many big stars. I mean, legends. We're talking about legends from Brazil that now are commentators. Okay, and there was a big issue. I don't know if you heard about this, but I'm going to tell you to your audience, because Romario has a podcast, right? Romario has a podcast. And he always obviously invites big personalities, and he invited Rafinha right prior to the to this Clásico. And Romario, you know, he's always been like this, right? He's so crafty. He's like that, and he told Rafinha, "I'm gonna kick their asses tomorrow, or what?" Yes, we will. Rafinha said, "Right? Are you sure?" And Rafinha said, "No, yeah, we're gonna destroy them. We're gonna make them pay. We're gonna make them eat their grass at the Monumental in Buenos Aires." 35 touches. 35 touches from a goal from Argentina.
That was gorgeous.
35.
That was gorgeous.
All right. It was just beautiful. That was this art. It was just Baryshnikov on the pitch. That's what it was, Argentina, and that's how good this team is. And with no Messi, no Messi on the pitch. All right, youngsters like Simeone, Thiago Almada, who played a marvelous game. We might be thinking about getting that guy back to Atlanta.
Well, I've also heard Jason said he might be going back to Botafogo, considering he's a part of Texter's Lyon football group. He might be heading back to Botafogo.
No, but he's playing fantastic. Now, so this is the thing. What Argentina is having now is what no other nation has right now, which is they won everything, and then now the next step is to keep winning, right? To keep winning. Are they gonna go after these back-to-back titles, which nobody has done? Nobody since Brazil 1958, 1962. All right, they're going after that now. That's the mentality of Scaloni is not gonna say it, but I know I can put my hands on fire right now that every single player in that Argentina team are thinking about this. The Brazilians done it. Now we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it in this era. Back-to-back titles. They have the power, they have the coach, they have the structure, and they have this is crazy. Everybody's struggling to transitioning from one generation to another.
One team
Not
ain't.
Argentina, brother.
One team ain't.
Okay, and they keeping bringing in youngest players to the team. Everybody gels, brother. Everybody gels. It says that's a matter. If it's Simeone who enters the pitch, now there's no Lautaro Martinez. It's Julian Alvarez, which is now I want to say top 3 striker on the planet right now. And you got Rodrigo de Paul. You got switching the back four, and they repeat this team, this 11. This is the same 11 that play against Croatia in Qatar. Same 11. Nobody can repeat that and add new pieces and get the same results, the same performances, the same insane high level performances from this team. Argentina is the number one team in the planet, and they will repeat the title in U.S., Mexico, and Canada 2026. You heard that here today, March 27, 2025, here on Soccer Down Here. We're going to clip this, we're going to save it, we're going to play it when Argentina leaves the trophy. In I don't know which state. Are they gonna? Where's the final? Do you know where's the final?
I think it's at the Meadowlands in New York, New Jersey. Yeah.
Okay. That stadium. That play that the next day, the day after that. All right.
Nino Damas. He's calling it right now. We're gonna mark it. All right. Alfaro and his magic in Paraguay.
8 matches in a row without dropping a loss since Alfaro took over. 8 matches in a row. This is a team that was struggling big time. They were struggling big time to create chances, to dictate the tempo on the pitch. But then Alfaro came to Paraguay. This guy, man, I think he should be a lawyer, man. And let me tell you, I think he should be a lawyer or something, because the way he talks, man, he just, he captivates all the audience. But forget about the audience. He captivates the players. He captivates the players with his message, and they believe in him. And then he makes them believe in themselves. And that's the great part that Gustavo Alfaro is bringing to it. It's not his magical, tactics, or he's so wise when it comes to adjusting positioning. No. He is all about here. He works with the minds of the players. And this is what happens. All right? You trust in the players trust in themselves, and you got these results. Because it wasn't that Peru did not have players, right? You got Enciso, you got Miguel Palmirón, you got many talented players in that roster. Make them play, liberate and free themselves, and then the results will come, and they're coming. And Paraguay is now, it's not official yet, but they're in. They're in. I mean, mathematically, they still can lose games. I don't think they're going to lose more than one game the next 4. That one, they're going to lose against us. We're going to play the last game here in Lima. It's Peru versus Paraguay. Hopefully, they're already qualified. Hopefully, I don't know. It's just, we're going to win. If we're going to qualify, we need to win the next 4 games. We won 2 in the previous 15. So, not like
last topic, and I know that Major League Baseball has screwed this up by not having it on a Monday. But opening day is on a Thursday, which is dumb. And you had an opening day story with you and the large number 5 alive, Albert Pujols, who was a part of my Angels for a very long time, got a fantastically large contract from our owner, Artie Moreno, and it was what it was. So, but your Albert Pujols story about 5 alive and Nino hit me for opening day.
It was beautiful, right? Because it wasn't actually an opening day, but it's the baseball story, okay? Right? So I'm a big fan of Al Pujols, right? Big fan of Al Pujols. And ex-wife back then was my wife, which got married that year. When was that? 2010. And she always heard me talking about baseball and this and that. And I was, it was your birthday, June 2nd, right? Okay. Tickets to see the Reds and the Angels in Cincinnati. We drove down the road, 71. Get there, got our seats. It was June, right? Just 550 degrees of weather. It was just ridiculous. I was melting now, man. I was melting. Not because my heart was melting too, because I get to watch Albert Pujols. His first at bat. Booyah, baby! Out of the town. Baseball, home run for Nino Torres on his birthday. Albert Pujols. My God. Life was great. Life was great. It's just out of a movie, brother. On my birthday, my favorite player hitting a home run. It was just unreal. And I was the only one standing up, right? Because of it. I was in Cincinnati.
Wow.
I was in Cincinnati. I was standing up. Yes, yes. Everybody was looking at me. It's my birthday. It's my birthday.
And everybody's sitting there throwing their beer and their chili at you, going, "Sit down."
Sit down, man.
No, as an Angels fan, I have long suffered because we have an owner that doesn't get it, and he throws more money at problems and never got pitching. It's like, yeah, I'll pay Albert Pujols $250 on 10. I'll pay Mike Trout. I'll have Shohei Ohtani, but then I won't trade anything for him, and then I'll lose him basically on a free to the Dodgers, which really makes me feel good. Goes right up the freeway and gets the evil empire out west a World Series championship. And what do we have? We have injured superstars and no pitching. So, that's what I get to deal with being an Angels fan. What are you calling this weekend?
Oh, got my beloved Universitario de Deportes back, brother. Universitario de Deportes versus Sport Huancayo tomorrow night, Friday Night Lights on Gold TV. Liga Uno, my Peruvian team, my team is playing, so you better tune in, bro. You better tune in. If you hear me going crazy with other teams, just imagine calling it your team. All right, so this is my team that is playing tomorrow, so I'm gonna be wild. It's gonna go wild. Ninito's gonna go wild tomorrow night, brother. Then we got Benfica on Saturday. We got Porto on Sunday. We got the marvelous Uruguayan league that is going nonstop. On this weekend. Just one quick last thing about the Uruguayan league, Johnny. I remember I said this. It was 75% of the strikers. Remember that I said the other day, right? I checked. I was like, all right, I think it's more than that, right? I was thinking about it. I said, I think it's more than that. So I went over the last round, in round 7, team by team, right? Every single team. Give me a number of how many teams you think that they got a international player as a striker. Give me a number of teams. Out of the 16, there's 16 teams in the top flight division. Tell me how many are not Uruguayan strikers.
10. 1? Wow. Okay. 2. Okay.
2. Diego Erazo and Diego Oliveira for Plaza Colombia. 2 out of the 16 teams got a striker that is not Uruguayan. The rest, the other 14 teams, got strikers that are Uruguayans and they're under 23 years old.
And definitely you're going to need to keep an eye on that transfer market to make sure that you can find that untapped talent. As always, my friend, love you very much. Don't be a stranger. And we'll catch up with you soon. Have great calls. May the pipes be with you. And we'll catch up with you next week. All right, there goes Nino Torres. Hot tag, last half hour. And for this one, like I said, what show on a Thursday can go from here to London and Jacksonville, back to London, to Lima, and now to Seattle? Answer's this one, because we bring in our buddy Niko Moreno. And look at the lighting. Look at the key light. Look at that fill that's there. You're rocking and rolling, man.
What's going on, John? SDH family. There is a glimmer of light, of hope here in the Pacific Northwest, and it's been a more positive week than we've had in quite some time. That, as you guys all know, there have been some gloomy days and some clouds above the Founder stratosphere, but here we are. It is cup number 2 of Joe.
Okay.
So I'm ready to roll.
All right. I'm down with OPP. You know me. All right. So obviously the big news is Paul Arriola. And if it's not the biggest news, it is big news. And so if you would please, sir, explain the contract machinations and being put on long-term injury, cap relief, dollar signs, all the impacts there. I know it's a big week off the field financially because you got to fix a problem now on the field where Paul Arriola is not going to be.
Yeah, so I think as expected, the team has announced that, one, Paul Arriola has gone through successful surgery to repair their knee, and he has been placed on the end of season injury list, which does give Seattle big relief of about $600,000 for the salary cap and potentially adds on to what they already have in terms of potential money to make a move and fill that position. And with Paul Arriola's versatility and Paul Arriola's attributes, the team had been looking for something similar. They were looking for a player within MLS, and they had been talking to. That's something we kind of touched on last week, which I thought was pretty funny because we had a comment about Kremasky, but the Sounders had been looking at Miami. They had been looking at Julian Gressel as a potential option. They had been they've asked in the past about Robert Taylor. Kremasky was possibly one of those players that the team might have thought about, but they essentially are going to be using that room in the cap to bring in, per our reports, as Sandra Hard, Ryan Kent, and that's kind of been the new glimpse of hope that I was mentioning at the start of the show.
Ryan Kent, obviously, being looked at, he's salary friendly, and you get the experience that is there with him. If it does end up coming to pass, I know that is the linked report and everything, but how does it now with the Arriola injury? What kind of pressure, or who has the most pressure on them in this offense with the Arriola duties that are no longer there? Who are you looking at to fill that void in it, who's been there longer than, say, a Ryan Kent, who would be walking in the door? Who on that roster has the experience of being a part of the Seattle landscape that can fill that void from Arriola, or is it an unfillable void?
That's a good question, because at this point, it honestly varies depending on what the team decides moving forward. Essentially, the guy that like for like will bring in what Paul Arriola was giving you during the times that Seattle plays with wingbacks is the other Paul Rothrock. And he's the guy that's been working that position. He has the motor, has the engine, a different player, not as poised and as finished in terms of his services in the box, but he can be more electric and he can be more dynamic and create a little bit more on the offensive end in terms of runs into the box and goal attempts. He's a guy with a great feel for where to be. His field awareness is very good. The issue there, though, is the experience, and can he do it consistently the way you were hoping Paul did? Now, if we go to the 4-2-3-1, and there were times where Paul played there as a left winger, I would say that it has to be Pedro de la Vega and or Jesus Ferreira, depending on how Brian Smetzer decides to move forward. At this point in time, Ferreira has been the point man when it comes to being the 9, because Jordan Morris is not healthy. But my guess is that when everything hopefully gets pushed over the line, and we'll talk about updates on Ryan Kent right after this, but if this does go through, by the time that Ryan Kent is ready to go, you're going to have Jordan Morris healthy, and therefore you're going to have to figure out who is going to be playing that left wing position. And I think that essentially that should be Pedro. But where does Ferreira fall there? Do you play him on the right side? What do you do with Pedro? I mean, with Jesus Ferreira, as you're hoping that he gets a little bit more confidence, as you're hoping that he gets more acclimated into the system. Because if there's something that's true about Ferreira right now, is that he just hasn't looked synced in with the rest of the team. And quite honestly, he's looked like he's still not 100% in his conditioning. We looked at him yesterday in practice. He seems to be more active, more engaged. So slowly but surely, the end product and the end objective is that Ferreira is ready to go, and he should be a starter for this team.
I was going to ask about Ferreira. You're reading my notes, because obviously the investment that was made and the promise that was there for Ferreira just has not happened. And what is the patience level of I guess we can take it two ways. What's the patience level of the fan base, and what's the patience level of Brian Schmetzer in the front office about this investment that was made? The anticipation, literally, it was after his time on the U.S. national team where he was averaging close to a goal a match. He's only scored 9 in his last 45 going into CONCACAF Champions Cup this year. So there's been something that's been off. What's the expectation level and the patience level here?
Oh man, that is again another great question. I think the patience level is there because of the investment that you made and the ultimate potential for a player that can be an X factor for your team. So he doesn't get a pass, but there are circumstances within his physical level that he came in to the team that does make it okay that he's kind of taking a little bit longer. Now, does that mean that he's not going to be criticized and that there's not this huge magnifying glass on top of his head in terms of fans criticizing the move, criticizing him as a player? No, that's going to continue to be there. And I've said this consistently, that just comes with the job. That comes with the role. Anytime that you are a big time player moving to a team, you're going to be scrutinized. But to me, I hear Brian Schmetzer be very patient with what he's seen out of Herrera. He's been complimentary, praising a lot of the moments he did have throughout his time here in Seattle. He had some moments against Houston where you could see the IQ, you could see the touch, you could see the talent, you could see the half turn that he does do correctly. So I think that there's patience from the club and the staff, and there's confidence that he's going to figure it out. But from the outside, fans and the general people that are invested into this team outside of the organization, they have been very harsh and maybe less patient than the coaching staff is.
And I would mean, especially with the run in CONCACAF and all of the expectations. You've got Club World Cup coming up later on in the spring. So with all of these high profile events, you want all of all of those investments to come in and click, and you want Jordan to be healthy. You want Ferreira to click. You want Ferreira to be that pick to click. You want De La Vega to be healthy. You want him to work on the left-hand side. So I would anticipate that the desires of the front office and the fans, with all of this high profile stuff coming up, you want everything at 100% by the time you especially get into Club World Cup, where you're going to be seen on a global stage.
Yeah, and that's actually a good point. But I honestly, and this is my opinion, just reading the plank here, reading what I'm seeing in front of me, understanding the way the club moves, I don't know if Club World Cup is necessarily something that they know that they're going to be there to do a job, to compete at the best of their abilities. But being realistic, I think that all of the moves that they're making, and when they're hoping Ferreira is at 100%, is potentially more towards League Cup and potentially towards MLS play and MLS playoffs, because you hear it in Brian Schmetzer talking about, we're just there to compete, right? In Club World Cup, we built a roster for MLS play, because it'd be unrealistic to say we're going to go all out to just dominate PSG and beat Atletico. Like, those are unrealistic objectives. You want to be competitive. You want to play. You always want to win, but you don't want to focus the entirety of your season in something as almost unachievable as a Club World Cup. So when it comes to Paul Ferreira and this new signing in Ryan Kent potentially moving forward, those are moves that you're making to maximize the strength of your team more in June, July, August, right? You're focused more on those other tournaments and playoffs, because this team needs a good run in the playoffs. They need, if they're shooting for something, is they're shooting for a title in Leagues Cup, and once again being a protagonist in MLS playoffs.
Okay, so now that we've talked about what could be, let's talk about the week that was out west.
Hold on. I got to give an update on Ryan Kent though. So I don't know what the audience has heard so far about Ryan Kent and where that is, but obviously Sandra Hart and myself, we ended up breaking the story here on Monday. 28-year-old winger with lots of potential. I'm guessing that you guys have already talked about the story of Ryan Kent and how he's come about, right?
Not really. Go for it.
So just real quickly, he is a free agent. He's a well-regarded attacker. He was at one point worth up to 20 million when he made his move to Fenerbahce, where that's where things get interesting. But he's well known for his times at Ranger, where he was a stud, loved by the fans. He is a Liverpool product with what has been mentioned, a very creative, very high-paced, goal dangerous type of play. And his profile is very interesting, right? What's not interesting is that at his time in Fenerbahce, he fell off out of favor with the club. I have read that there was a potential move in January of last year to Lazio that fell through in a deadline trade, and that kind of started a bad relationship between the club, and that ultimately ended up in the player being excluded from the group and kind of almost being blacklisted at some sort of point in time. And therefore, it becomes so toxic that Jose Mourinho ends up sacking the player. He's the one that decides we need to part ways. And Fenerbahce ends up sending a press release that they have mutually parted ways. So this is in October. So the player hasn't necessarily been playing for beyond October, but he's been out of contract since October. It might be a red flag that he hasn't been picked up by any team. There were apparently interest from Sevilla and a couple of other Spanish teams. He was linked to an Iranian team at one point. So why hasn't that really fallen through is something that we're looking at. What type of shape he's in is something that the Sounders will be looking at. But here's the update. Ryan Kent is in Seattle. He arrived yesterday. He's walked around the facility, gotten plenty of reports from several people about him walking the facility, talking to players, talking to staff. Not Sounder players precisely, but people around that the organization there.
Right.
Last I heard, they're trying to finalize this deal. And salary apparently is not even the biggest obstacle. My guess is that the tenure of their contract, what's going to happen next year, is part of the obstacles that they're kind of moving right now on how to sign Ryan Kent. Why? Because Seattle decided to make this move, which was, in their credit, creative, innovative, out of the box. People continue to criticize this team for being so conservative and in MLS and all these things. They moved way out of the box in this one because they could manage it. They, as far as I know, wanted to sign this player till the end of December with an option for next year, giving him all the leverage. However, my guess is that as a player, I don't want you to have all the leverage. I need some sort of security. I need to be able to say, I'm going to come here to play till December, and then what? I'm guessing that's where some of the final touches of this move need to be made. But team seems to be confident that they'll push this through the line, but they are currently trying to finalize this deal. And this is something that has not been out there just yet, but they are trying to finalize this deal. They're hoping that it happens, but it has to be under Seattle terms, in my opinion.
No doubt. All right, so let's blow through the week that was before we get into juice boxes, before you get out of here for another Thursday. Last week, no goals on the board with Crew and NYC. Cincinnati and Atlanta, a 2-2 draw. Mr. OG, the own goal, helped out late for Atlanta United. Minnesota and LA, a 2-2 draw. Charlotte put 4 on San Jose. Red Bulls knocked off Toronto 2-1. Purple team beat DC 4-1. The Bradley Carnell Derby ended up with Bradley Carnell Current beating Bradley Carnell Old 1-0. LAFC shuts out Kansas City 2-0. So once again, we still don't know what version of Kansas City we're getting on a daily basis. Nashville gets 3 on Montreal for their 5th road game of the to start the season. They end up sacking Laurent Courtois. We got into that all week long and saying how stupid that was. Portland shut out Colorado 3-0. Dallas over RSL 1-0. Chicago still continues to surprise with 3GB. Greg Berhalter beating Vancouver 3-1. Austin over San Diego 2-1. What sticks out from last week for you?
Well, for sure was the father-son the father-son bowl there with Vancouver and Chicago. Chicago looks good. They really do. It seems like Greg Berhalter has done a great deal in terms of that identity, the philosophical way that they attack. They seem to understand it, but I'm not as sold on it, on this specific score line as others are. We got to remember that Vancouver was very minimized. No Pedro Vite, no Cubas. These are players that were obviously playing in the international window for their individual national teams. So we got to keep that in mind. But Chicago definitely looks good. I wanted to just say that Charlotte, man, they look really good. They look dangerous. But San Jose in this specific game forgave him time and time again. They should have started winning this game. Don't know what happened to Chicho. I mean, in front of goal, he's typically clinical. In this one, he had 2 gimmies, 1 header he usually puts away, and then at the end, a shot that he typically puts right in the corner, completely misses it. So I am sold on Charlotte. I think that they're a very balanced team. Love what Dean Smith's doing. Taha seems to give them a little bit of an X factor. So sold on Charlotte. And finally, Cardinal is the real deal. And I thought that it was unfair that they moved him on when they did. We talked about it here. I could not be happier that he beat his old St. Louis team in the way that they did, because maybe the scoreline was 1-0, but I thought they were way more dominant beyond that scoreline. And man, I just like to see it. Now, finally, and I cannot let this go. Atlanta, they keep letting me down, man. I thought they were going to get in there, get that win. They start off hot. They're not as clinical as they should be, and then they continue to shoot themselves in the foot. That 2-2 was a little bit unexpected to me in the way that game started, but it's some of the things that kind of stood out with me from last week.
All right, so we'll save Atlanta United hosting NYC and Seattle going to San Jose for the end of it. New England and Red Bulls, I would recommend going to watch something else for 90 minutes. Toronto and Vancouver, I would recommend going to watch something else for 90 minutes. Then that gets your afternoon taken care of. I mean, go watch international soccer. Go back to watching, Premier League and stuff.
If not, just go to the grocery store, get something done. But don't worry about this.
Get ready for the night. That's what you need to do. Rapids hosting Charlotte. They're favored with the Prairie Dogs at a +131. Charlotte on the road is a +195. That one will be intriguing just on merit alone to see how Charlotte behaves on the road and at altitude. DC and Crew. DC is favored at home at a +148.
That is wild, man. Look, Columbus has struggled, but that's a little disrespectful there, I think. And look, they have. I don't want to get beyond that. This team without Cucho has looked powerless, and they just don't have that X factor up top. And Russell Rowe can only do so much, and Diego Rossi can only do so much. You could see the struggle that he's putting the effort without being able to see the results, and you could see him struggling with that. But that's a little disrespectful, man. What's the draw on this one?
+247.
Oh yeah. Yeah, let me write this one down. Yeah, absolutely.
Draw. Yeah, +247 in the composite with the DC and Crew.
I like that.
Messi and friends, big favorites on the minus side, hosting the Fighting Carnels from Philadelphia. Chicago gets CF Montreal the match after they get rid of their head coach. So Fire, by the way, a -175. CF Montreal's a +421, and they still have Columbus on the road after this one.
I wouldn't think that at 600. God, Montreal is such a XL.
Dallas hosting Sporting at a -125. Loons hosting RSL at a -139. Nashville hosting FC Cincinnati at a plus 131. Cincinnati on the road, a plus 194 at Nashville. LAG hosting the Purple Team. LAG is a plus 127. Favored at home in the bottom of the standings in the West. Purple Team comes from one coast to the other, and they're a plus 188.
I need to know the scoreline in that one because, look, Orlando City has been great offensively, but I feel like Pedro Gallese has taken a step back in some sort of way. The defense is real shaky when it comes to that first line of defense, which is that holding midfield. Regardless of them having two real quality guys in Atuesta and Araujo, they just have not been great. Maybe there's a thing where they need to be more involved together and have a little bit more chemistry. But what's the goals on that one? Because I think this is going to be a high-scoring game.
Plus 3.5 is a plus 144.
144.
At plus 3.5. 4.5 is a plus 332 if you want to get really adventurous, but it flips at 3.25. So 3.5 is a plus 144 in that one.
Wow, I'm gonna write that 4.5 just in case. But look, this is a good game in terms of if you want a show of goals. I think both teams are offensively sound. They've had their issues defensively this season. I like the LA Galaxy starting to respond a little bit more. Still not the Galaxy of old. That's all right. It seems like Greg Vanny has slowly but surely started to figure out what he needs to do. I love what Christian Ramirez did last week. That little flick was just beautiful. I mean, that thing is just textbook delicious, right? So Christian Ramirez getting a little bit of confidence gives me confidence in that LA Galaxy team. As long as it's not Miguel Berry being your point man, I'm a happy camper. So LA Galaxy, Orlando, this is a good one. I'm going to go ahead and say that Orlando City wins this game.
Okay.
And I'll take the goals at 3.5.
Plus 188 for the Purple Team to win. So hang on to that one. I don't know. I don't think we've come up with a matchup for this one. Cali Classico applies when LAG goes and plays San Jose. We need one for San Diego and LAFC. And San Diego is favored, by the way, at Snapdragon at a plus 139 against LAFC in that one, which I also find intriguing. That's just me.
Say it again.
San Diego favored at home against LAFC plus 139. LAFC is a plus 181 to win. Your draw is a plus 245.
Yeah, man. I might just do that draw. Look, San Diego's been good, and they were good again against Austin. They have issues though, and Austin exploited those. Their defense is a little bit slow, and they tend to be risky in the way of play. They do get very high. I thought Brandon Vasquez should have scored at least 2 goals in this one, and he didn't. If you can be direct, and LAFC can do that, they have the tools to do this. So La Perla Martinez, man, he's been unreal. That goal he had just last week was the best goal of the week, in my opinion. I think LAFC can exploit what San Diego doesn't do well. And I think they had 4 starters out this past weekend. I can see this LAFC team having their way with San Diego. I do like the draw though in this one. Man, now I'm doubting myself. What's the turnover on the goals in this one?
Well, the draw is a plus 243. Just to let you know, San Diego and LAFC, and we definitely do appreciate the San Diego going up against LAFC. I started Dryer in fantasy; that didn't go well. Okay, early returns. 3.5 is a plus 209.
Oh yeah.
Plus 209, and 3 is a $1.50. A 3 even is a plus 150. 3.5 is a plus 209. So that's what you have on that one.
No. Let me get the 3.5, and I'll go with the draw. 3.5, and give me the draw.
Okay, so 3.5 in the draw is another plus 245. So you're busy there.
Mhm.
Then all caps hosting Austin, favored at home on Sunday. Sunday night, Portland hosting Houston, favored as well to plus 114. We've saved the other two. Seattle on the road at San Jose, favored at a plus 148, taking on San Jose, who's a plus 168. What say you?
Oh man, that's a difficult one. I'm out of that. By the way, I'm all out on that one. This is the thing with San Jose. They struggle with transition defensively. We've seen that. We've known that. But they're offensively good enough where they can kind of pin back Seattle. Seattle has struggles of their own. They got to figure out a couple of things. Obed Vargas is back. New who's back. In what type of shape and form is New coming back? Don't know if he'd get a start right off the bat. He hasn't been at the training facilities since yesterday. We'll see if he'll be there today. Obed has doing some light work. My guess is that Obed will definitely be part of this team. Playing a little bit higher in this one, I would expect. But San Jose is always a kind of a rock in the shoe for the Seattle Sounders, and there's no doubt about that. So in this one, what's the draw as well? Man, I'm just full of draws today.
Plus 241.
Yeah, I think that's a safe bet. Why? Because Seattle defensively has been very sound. Seattle will try to overpossess this San Jose team. They have the better midfield. They can certainly control pace, control tempo. Can they do enough to beat this team right off the bat? I don't think so. Not at this particular moment. So I'll go with the draw in that one.
Then the last one on the board, Atlanta United hosting NYC, Saturday night, 7:40 kick Eastern time. Atlanta United minus 105 against NYC, draws a plus 260. NYC is a plus 268.
Yeah, I'm not touching this game either, but Atlanta should win this game. And I would be very disappointed if that's not the case. Miguel Almiron should be coming back. He had very good shift with against Colombia just this weekend. I think he played 90. But regardless of, Atlanta should be able to, with what we saw against Cincinnati, be able to control and beat this New York City FC team that has looked lackluster at times, has not been as good as we're used to seeing the New York City team. If there's a certainty that we can have into this game, is the Lat should have a big game, should have another big game. He's been so good, so close, but it seems to be just, I don't know if it's on luck because there's been some offsides, there's been some situations, but man, this should be a game where Lat is at least getting Jewel Brace in this one. So I'll take Atlanta, but I want no part of the juice boxes in this one.
No doubt. All right. So what's going on at Pulso Sports? And I know that you're going to the Providence and Swedish Bouncy House to find out what's going on up there. What else is going on?
Yeah, just go ahead and check out our recently added videos there in Pulso Sports. We talked to Christian Roldan about this matchup against Bruce Arena's San Jose squad. We talked to Brian Smetzer, and he kind of looks a little bit annoyed that the Ryan Kent stuff's already out there. He kind of mentioned that he will let people know when there's something official, unless there's reporters that know more than him. It's exactly what he said. So he did not seem too happy with the news there. But go ahead and check that out. We're going to have added content here from what we get today, what we get tomorrow, where the team will train and travel. Of course, do not miss Fridays. We do the What We Learned This Week with Jeremiah Chan on the Nos Arietes and Sandra Hart Podcast Network. We're going to go deep dive into everything that we find out with Ryan Kent. I expect more updates by tomorrow afternoon. So do check that out if you're interested on where this player is going to land, if he's going to land, and what could potentially mean for all those other players, with you very astutely brought up today. What does that mean for Pedro? What does that mean for Jesus? What does that mean for a guy like Georgie that's a fan favorite and has been developing? All of those things we'll touch up on What We Learned this week. And then Monday as well, Loving Sporchers with Ari Lallenwall. Go ahead and check that out.
As always, my friend, great to see you. And as always, doors always open. Love to see you. Love having you here on Thursdays as we roll through everything going on around Major League Soccer. Be safe. Have a great weekend. Have fun at the Bouncy House, and we'll catch up with you next week.
You're the man.
All right, that's Niko Moreno. Niko's going to finish his second cup of coffee, and it's always great to catch up with everybody here. So this morning was full. It was Jarrett. It was Sporting Jacksonville from both England and Jacksonville. Then it was Matt Webb calling in from London to talk about the Marshall Islands. Then it was our buddy Niko Moreno, and then it was our buddy Nino Torres from Lima, Peru. Maddie comes and crashes. Nino says hi. Maddie says hi. Maddie went to practice. Niko Moreno comes in to talk Major League Soccer, and that's a show. I'm not kidding. So literally we went London, Jacksonville, London, Lima, Seattle, and here. Thanks to everybody who was in the chat this morning, breaking everything down. Let's see. Good morning to Jordan. Good morning, Kevsey. Morning, Lokeville. Let's see. Morning, OG. Let's see. Thanks for all the food suggestions, by the way. Let's see. So Jordan and Kevsey and Will. Abby, good morning. And that's everybody that was in the Twitch pitch. So once again, back at it again, 9:05 tomorrow morning. And batting leadoff will be Glenn Crooks. Glenn's going to have the breakdown of everything NYC because apparently, according to Tyler Terrence, we're not supposed to say NYCFC anymore. So we'll have that. And we'll catch up with Glenn at 9:05. We'll see if our friends from Beyond Goals Mentoring are not globetrotting and see what's going on with them at 9:30. 10 o'clock, I anticipate Tyler Terrence will come back in for the third day in a row. And we'll break down anything and everything going on there. And if anybody else from Apple TV wants to come and crash on the Power Hour and the Crazy Hour to wrap up our week where we go through everything that is going on across Major League Soccer, Tyler and Kendra D. St. Aubin are going to be calling the Atlanta United match. Tyler's going to be looking for food wrecks. And so we'll steer. We will not steer the man wrong, but we will find out what his limits are. But my guess is Martin's for breakfast and something Fat Matt's-ish or something Krog Street Market or something like that. We'll figure that out in and around Centennial Olympic Park. Maybe some soul food or something. We'll get it squared away for Tyler and places to go and things to see and all that kind of stuff. We won't steer the man wrong. But, yeah, I'm anticipating. And what I wanted to do this season on Friday at 10 o'clock, and I'm thinking Jason might be joining us at 10:30, as he traditionally does, unless he has something else going on with the game starts and being the busiest man in show business. But that 10 o'clock hour on Fridays, I wanted to kind of turn it into a free-for-all, like previewing the weekend, getting you ready, having fun on the way out the door kind of a thing. And so having Tyler coming in for the third day straight, and apparently he was vilified at home for coming in a day early, but we can get into that too. But so that's what the idea is with that hour on Friday, the 10 to 11 hour, where we just basically turn it into a chaotic preview of the weekend and whatever is on everybody's mind is just out there in the ether for the day. All right. So gossip, rumor, and innuendo, what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. And apparently Southampton wants 100 million pounds for one of their players. I don't quite see that happening, but okay. They're going to demand more than 100 million for English winger Tyler Dibbling, who's wanted by Spurs and City. Newcastle want to bring in Jarrell Kwanzaa from Liverpool to St. James Park this summer, hoping a 30 million pound offer will tempt Liverpool to sell. Arsenal have identified Frankfurt's Hugo Ekitike as an alternative to Newcastle's Alexander Isak, who's valued at 150 million by the Magpies. That's from the three-letter paper. Newcastle will pause contract talks after Isak turned down their initial offer. Bournemouth is going to this week discuss the futures of Milos Kerkez and Antoine Semenyo amid interest from Liverpool. United's Jadon Sancho, currently on loan at Chelsea, keen to return to the Bundesliga. Rejoining Borussia Dortmund is his dream, according to Bild, but Bayer Leverkusen is also interested. Chelsea, who have an obligation to buy Sancho for Manchester United, considering whether to sign him permanently before immediately selling him. So it could be an interesting flip. Chelsea and Real Madrid want to sign Dean Houston from Bournemouth this summer. Trent Alexander-Arnold's contract expires June 30. Liverpool could still get a fee if Real Madrid want him for the FIFA Club World Cup, which begins on 14 June. Four-letter paper, and that's because apparently the Premier League has approved the extra special transfer window from the 1st to the 10th. So apparently that window, you can't have an entire window for like a full 60-day period or something like that. So they may have this extra special extraordinary trading window or transfer window, and they might be able to do something there in that window before the Club World Cup, which begins on June 14th. Sunderland midfielder Chris Rigg, who's an England U19, closely monitored by Everton, Spurs, and West Ham. Liverpool, Manchester United, Newcastle, Napoli, interested in Gink's 17-year-old Greek midfielder Konstantinos Karetsis. That's from Tutto Mercato. What to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. And we got things, so we'll find out what the things are for folks who want to watch stuff today. On the Plus, it's light. Barcelona Osasuna is at 4 on the Plus. Paramount Plus has Leyton Orient and Stevenage at 4. DAZN USA Women's Champions League. Barcelona Wolfsburg at 1:45. Chelsea Manchester City at 4. So that's what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. Once again, 5 o'clock, 7 o'clock. It is for the Kaiser Permanente presentation of Georgia High School soccer. I'll be in Perry. Warner Robins in Perry. Girls at 5, boys at 7. Soccerdownhere.mixler.com, and also on the Mixler app. If you download the Mixler, MIXLR app, you can follow Soccer Down Here in SDH2. You're going to need to do that for Friday because we will be in 2 places at once. Drew Dickinson and I will be at the Battle of Five Forks Trickham, Parkview, and Brookwood. And then Jason and the rest of the crew will be at Sharp Stadium in Covington, Fort North Oconee, and Eastside. So that'll be where we are on Friday. Later today, me, Warner Robins, and Perry at St. Clair, and it'll be fun to catch up with everybody down there. Girls at 5, boys at 7, both on the network. You can also get it at soccerdownhere.net and go to the Listen tab, and there's like a pulsing button that you would hit. So whichever network is on, it's like live. You hit the button and then it goes. So, all right, let's see if I can figure it out. Who did we have today? All right, we had Jarrett joining us before. We had Mark Warburton and Steve Livingston from Sporting JAX. Before, we had Matt Webb from the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation. Before, we had our buddy Nino Torres from Gold TV. Before that, and then after that, we had our buddy Niko Moreno from Pulso Sports, Sounder at Heart. All of that in one show. So tomorrow, I know we're leading off with Glenn Crooks at 9:05. I know that we're going to have Tyler Terrence coming in for food recommendations and anything else that's going on Apple TV, and we'll talk about the weekend in general. I know that we're going to have everybody else coming in to discuss what's going on in Major League Soccer in hour number 2. I'm hoping we can have either Michael Parkhurst or Greg Garza come on at 9:30 to discuss what's going on at Beyond Goals Mentoring and the Friday Free Kick. Hour number 2 might be a street fight. And just figuring out topics and flying around by the seat of our pants and figuring out what's going on. But that's the kind of fun we want to have here. And we can't thank you all for being enough for being a part of it all and all the chaos that is attached. So back in less than 22 hours, now that we have cleared 11 o'clock. And so since it is the end of the show, thanks to all the guests and thanks to all of you, time to play this. We're out. We'll see you tomorrow at 9:05. Glenn Crooks will start things off on a Friday. Strap yourselves in, get your seatbelts ready, and tray tables at full upright and lock positions. It's going to be a fun one. Play it safe, everybody. See you from Perry later today and the morning show from a hotel room in Perry tomorrow morning. Bye.